Welcome to the Slow Living Collective podcast. I'm Amy, wife, mother of two and devoted homemaker. Join me on this journey as we explore the beauty of slow and simple living, where life unfolds at its own unhurried pace. I'll take you through my experiences of slowing down, tending to our allotment plot, finding joy in the little things and making the most of our small home. Together we'll learn to live in harmony with the ever-changing seasons, discovering the magic that lies in embracing the present moment. So let's embark on this enriching adventure towards a more intentional and fulfilling life. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Slow Living Collective podcast. I'm Amy and I want to thank you so much for joining me today on this episode. Today we are going to dive into non-toxic living because I know it's something that is sort of, I'm not going to say super trendy, but super interesting to everybody. I think people are slowly becoming more and more aware of what we have been surrounded with for the longest of times. And I know since we started our journey into reducing toxins around us, within our home, within our foods even, it's so concerning. I think it's one of those things that once you are more aware, like, you cannot close your eyes to it. I know I used to see like videos and reels come across my Instagram feed of like people cleaning their homes, and like now when I see them I'm like, the chemicals, all of the chemicals, my goodness. So yeah, I think once you've gone down that rabbit hole it's impossible to look the other way. So today's episode is all going to be about detoxifying your home and how you navigate this journey to a low toxic lifestyle. Now, I would love to say that we're completely like zero toxic, but I just don't know if that's possible. I don't know that that's possible. I do absolutely the best I possibly can with what's available to me, and I work really hard to make sure that everything around us is as low toxic as possible. But it is, with want for a better word, a journey, and it's not a word that I really love, like journey. It sounds like I'm on this journey, but I can't think of another word for it. So that's what we're going to use. And yeah, so it is this just sort of step by step. Doesn't have to be all or nothing. Certainly doesn't have to be something you just do all in one go. For me, it was definitely something where I started with one thing, and over the years we have made all of these little tiny steps that when I look back now, we have completely changed our entire life and the way we eat, the way we live, the products we buy. And yeah, but it wasn't all an all or nothing thing. It was step by step. And I think if that's one thing you can take away from this episode, I think that is probably the biggest one. It's very overwhelming, I think, to think about just changing everything, and once, like I said, once you dive into this whole area of like the toxicity in our cleaning products, in maybe what we wear, what we are consuming in our food, the things we put on our face, on our bodies, it can feel suddenly very overwhelming. So I think the best thing to do is listen to this episode. Please don't feel overwhelmed by it. I started doing this a long time ago. I want you to take this episode as maybe if you're thinking about potentially detoxifying your life as much as possible, think about it in like, today is day one and you can start from where you are at. It doesn't have to be all or nothing, and the best thing you can do is make one tiny step. So with that being said, let's dive into it. I want to talk about, first and foremost, the household and household toxins and why we are almost surrounded by them. So there are so many different things when you look around your home that once you know about the toxicity that exists, you start to really question, like, oh my goodness, like I'm sitting here in my bedroom now and I'm looking around and I'm thinking, like, there's probably so much in here that is still probably toxic to my health, but we've made massive strides forward. You know, something that I at the time of recording, I cannot solve, not by myself at least, is the fact that we are living without an external wall covering. So if you've listened to earlier episodes, I might have explained it. I can't really remember. I think I always say, like, I'm going to make an episode about it, and I am going to make an episode about it, but at the same time I keep thinking, like, oh goodness, it's a big one. It's a big one to dive into, but I will do it. So it will be coming up, because we're almost at the point where that it's about to be resolved, let's put it that way. But for 2.5 years now, I have had no external wall covering on the outside of our building. So if you don't know, we live in a split level flat, just a small block, not very high. And so we occupy 2 floors. It's basically set out like a very traditional little house. And I actually love it. I was relentless in my pursuit to get this place. Before it came on the market, or officially came on the market, it was advertised as like coming soon. And, you know, from the pictures, I was like, this would be ideal for us. It was just myself and my husband at the time. And yeah, I was relentless in my pursuit to get it. I knew exactly what we had to do to be able to get it, i.e. I knew if we liked it when we physically saw it, I knew we had to make an offer right then and there, which is what we did. And we were lucky enough that we were the ones that were picked to get it. We did have to go ever so slightly above the asking price, but yeah, that's a story for another day. But this place is a leasehold property, which is not ideal. If you know anything about leasehold, you know it's maybe not the best option, but we didn't know then what we know now. We've lived here for 8 years, and we have and ahed multiple times about moving, certainly in the last 2.5 years, where because of the situation with our external wall, we haven't been able to move. It's impossible to move because it's impossible for anybody purchasing to get a mortgage on the property while it is as it is. Like I say, it's almost sorted, but it's been hell, and I will do that episode. I really, really will. But one of the side effects of having no external wall has meant that we also have no insulation on most of our external walls, which isn't ideal, and it does give rise to things such as damp, condensation, black mold. These things, they're so highly toxic, and it's something that I just cannot solve until the external wall of my home is fitted, which is soon, but it has been 2.5 years. We have gone through 3 winters like this, and I've done my best, but this just goes to show that sometimes there is external factors that we cannot control, and this is one of them for me. All I have control over is what is inside the walls of my home. I cannot change what is currently happening on the outside. I cannot change what is happening in the air, the atmosphere. I just can't do that. But what I can do is focus on what's here right in front of me. And so in terms of that, the damp, the mold, the condensation, I have to use sort of mitigating things to make sure that it is as healthy as it possibly can be. And it is so much better over the years. I have definitely learnt how to control it better. But I'm looking forward to a time where that won't be an issue anymore. So there are lots of toxins around our house. Some we can control, some like that, you know, that we have less control over. But I think the important thing to note is that there are potential health impacts of prolonged exposure to toxins in our life and in our homes. Are you looking for a delicious way to live a more sustainable and mindful life? Look no further, because I've got something special just for you. Introducing Riverford Organic, your gateway to fresh organic fruit and vegetable boxes delivered right to your doorstep. When you choose Riverford, you're not just eating organic, you're supporting an ethical business that believes in food that's good for the planet and your well-being. Eating organic means you're savouring food grown with care, free from harmful chemicals and absolutely bursting with flavour. By choosing Riverford, you're supporting a business that is committed to sustainability, is employee-owned and passionate about reducing food waste. Embrace the seasons with a rotating variety of fruits and vegetables, fresh, local and in harmony with nature. Riverford has been a game changer for our family and I think it could be for yours too. There is nothing more exciting for me than grabbing my Riverford box off my doorstep on delivery day. But there's more. As a treat for you guys, you can enjoy a £15 credit towards your second order. Simply sign up at theslowlivingcollective.com/Riverford to claim your credit and start your journey towards healthier, ethical and more seasonal eating. So how can we figure all this out? Well, don't panic. We're going to discuss it and we're going to dive into all of the ins and outs of it. So I think it's probably important before we start to mention, I guess, some of the things that the chemicals include and why they're a worry, because you might be thinking like, well, what's the concern? So there are various things that these chemicals do to our bodies, to the systems inside our bodies, and some are just a bit of a pain and some of them are a lot more sinister than that. So it's difficult to tell what is what unless you're really, really clued up on these things. And when you start, you're not clued up on it. You're not clued up on it at all. And to be honest, I would say even now where I'm at, I wouldn't necessarily like pick up a bottle of a cleaning product and see the chemicals and know what they're going to do. So something I really do suggest as a real sort of gateway entry into checking out your home is an app called Yucca. It's Yuka. It's Yucca or Yucca. I'm not really sure how the best way to pronounce it is. But it is an app where you can scan the barcodes of your products. There's a product catalogue and you can scan the products like around your house, whether it be a shower gel or a bottle of bleach or whatever. And it will bring up a list of the ingredients and it will show via a traffic light system whether they are good, maybe not great, or really bad. And I have found that really, really excellent. So you can scan all sorts of products. You can scan your makeup products, your body care products. You can scan food. You can scan cleaning products. It has a massive, massive catalogue and it's so, so helpful. Just as an example, I've just pulled it up. I just want to have a look on here for some of the things that I have checked. So just for example here, I scanned a eyeliner pencil and it came up that it had, I'm going to have to say some big words in this episode which I'm not going to be able to probably do justice. So we've got an ingredient in this eye pencil. Now just think about this for a second. An eyeliner pencil, just one of those, soft black pencils that goes on your eye, and an entrance into your body and ultimately into your bloodstream. And it has a ingredient in it, propylparaben. Now, most of us know that parabens are not good, but this comes up as hazardous because it's an endocrine disruptor and an allergen. So what are those things? So an endocrine disruptor is a chemical substance that interferes with the normal functioning of the endocrine system, and the endocrine system is what regulates our hormones in the body. When you have something that is an endocrine disruptor in a product, it can mimic or block the actions of our natural hormones, leading to things like hormone imbalance. And when you have a prolonged exposure to them, it can cause so many different health issues, including things like reproductive problems, developmental disorder, and disruptions in your metabolism. So endocrine disruptors disruptors are not great. And in this case, this propylparaben it's believed to be an endocrine disruptor, and in rats the effects have been observed on hormones and sperm activity. The substance may also have effects on fertility and the development of unborn children. The European Chemical Agency states that risks to human health cannot be ruled out and that further studies are therefore required. The classification suspected of damaging fertility or the unborn child has been proposed and is currently under review by the European Union. The substance can also be irritating to eyes, skin and the respiratory system. I mean, this is in an eye pencil, right? Something that people all over the world are using just like on a very, very casual basis. And this is just one thing of so many. So many. What I love about this app as well is it actually links to all the scientific sources relating to the chemicals themselves. So if you really want to dive into it, you can. I tend to take what they are sharing. You know, if I see something that's hazardous, I'm like, no, thank you. Not on my watch. And the great thing is, it is an app. I have an Android phone. I believe it's available on all smartphone devices. Just go to whatever your store is and you'll be able to find it there. It's Yuka, Yuka, and it has a little picture of a little orange carrot. I definitely recommend that for starting out with. That's just like one thing, right? That, you know, I just, it blows my mind as I'm scrolling this list. It just really concerns me. I've got here a nail varnish that's also an endocrine disruptor and an allergen. For a chemical called benzophenone 1, and it's currently being assessed in the European Union to evaluate its endocrine disrupting potential. Several in vivo studies on rats show the substance plays a role in development of hormone-dependent cancers and can also cause allergies and severe irritation of the eye, skin and respiratory tract. Nail varnish. Yeah, it's a massive concern. And like I said, it's a bit of a rabbit hole. Once you start, you will be like, oh my goodness, all these things in my house need to go. So yeah, I'm sorry, but if you download the app, you are probably going to chuck out everything you own. I chucked out a huge bin bag. And listen, I am... You know, I'm often, I would have said prior to really diving into this journey to low toxic living, I would have been like, okay, so when you're going to change stuff up, obviously like use it up, and, you know, then just don't repurchase it. And I still believe that, but for myself, I was like, there's absolutely no way on earth that I want these things in my house. They need to be gone now, even in their bottles. I just viewed them so differently. But the good thing about this app as well is that you can actually find things before you buy them. So, you know, if you needed, for example, a new facial wash, you can actually, you know, have a look at maybe some more natural and organic like products and lines and stuff, and then you can actually check on the app first before you actually invest into buying anything. So yeah, it is a good app, but it is also terrifying, absolutely terrifying. So yeah. So what I have found is you will generally find when you are looking for products, especially on that app, you are going to be given a list of ingredients and it will tell you whether something is hazardous, or whether something is poor, whether something is bad, or whether something is good or excellent. And so I try and balance it so everything is in that green traffic light system. Everything is good and not upsetting anything in my body. Sometimes you'll come across things that say they are carcinogenic. So if a substance is considered carcinogenic, it means it has the potential to cause or promote the development of cancer. In my opinion, if anything in my home comes up that it's that it's carcinogenic, it is out. I am not even playing with that. You are out of my house. There is absolutely no way that us as humans should be forced to consume products that have the potential to cause or promote the development of cancer. What is going on? Why is this stuff in products that we use? So things that are carcinogenic can induce genetic mutations, they disrupt the normal cellular process, and lead to the uncontrolled growth of cells. And so when you have exposure to carcinogenic substances over time, this may increase the risk of developing various types of cancer. This can be found in cleaning products, in body care products, in food. I just don't have words for it. Obviously, we went through what endocrine disruptors are, that they upset these our natural hormones and can block our natural hormones, which can lead to hormone imbalance. Also, you might find that some things are either classed as an irritant or an allergen, and that means they have a substance in them that can cause irritation and inflammation when it comes into contact with living tissues. And this will be different for everyone, but it can manifest as things like redness, itching, swelling, discomfort. They can affect eyes, ears, skin, respiratory system, or maybe even other parts of the body as well. And although an irritant may not necessarily cause long-term damage or more systemic health effects like things that are carcinogenic or those endocrine disruptors, they can actually pose like immediate discomfort, and can even contribute to chronic conditions as well. So I think understanding the difference in some of the chemicals is important, and some of the potential health effects of these chemicals is really crucial, and then we are better able to make informed decisions about what we're using, how we can minimize exposure to these substances, and of course we have like regulatory agencies wherever you're listening to, whatever country you're in, you'll have like a regulatory agency that go on and classify these chemicals based on their risks, but like I think the funny thing is, like, obviously, take a nail varnish, for example. It's something that has been classified as potentially carcinogenic. It has a ingredient in it that is potentially carcinogenic. And then we know, like, it's been registered as that. It says that it has the potential to be carcinogenic. It has the potential to either, like promote or start that cycle. And it's registered as that, but then it can still be on sale. And the average person is going to pick that off the shelf, put it on their nails, or they'll be at the salon. So many people have their nails done on like a very regular basis, and then they're going to be at the salon or putting it on their nails at home with absolutely no idea that an ingredient in it has been registered as carcinogenic. So there is like this massive disconnect, because consumers are encouraged to be aware of these classifications, but how do you even know to look? I think we sort of believe and trust that these regulatory authorities are there to take care of us, and I'm not necessarily sure that's the case, because they very well know what is in the products, and they very well know that these chemicals cause what they cause, but there's no sort of there's no way for the consumer to know that without really digging deep, and most people are just not going to do that. So yeah, that is all about what's in chemicals. I know it's terrifying. You've probably all gone and downloaded the Yucca app by now. You're scanning your house and you're creating bin bags. So I'm sorry for your wasted money. I've been there too. So there are a lot of common household toxins that come from various sources around our homes. So one of the biggest ones is a VOC. Now, you might have heard of that. It's called a volatile organic compound. Don't let the word organic throw you off, because VOCs are dangerous in terms of breathing it in.
Are you ready to slow down and embrace simplicity even in the midst of life's imperfections? I've got just the thing for you. Discover my free guide, Imperfect Slow Living, designed to help you find peace and simplicity in your everyday life, no matter what it looks like. Slow down and breathe, unwind and rediscover calm no matter how hectic life gets. Simplify your life one step at a time with practical tips. You don't have to be perfect to enjoy the beauty of slow living. It's time to make a change. Visit theslowlivingcollective.com/slowliving to download your free guide today. Start your journey towards a more deliberate and intentional life. Slow living isn't about perfection. It's about finding peace in the imperfections of life. Download your guide and embrace a simpler, slower and more meaningful life. That's theslowlivingcollective.com/slowliving.
And VOCs are particularly bad because they are a major contributor to indoor pollution. And you'll find VOCs in things like paint, in cleaning products, in furniture, in building materials. And so, that prolonged exposure to the elevated levels of VOCs definitely leads to poor indoor air quality. But also some VOCs can have health effects as well, especially when exposure occurs over maybe an extended period of time, or maybe at high concentration. Think of things like like fragranced sprays in the air, like maybe in the bathroom or something. And this can cause so many different things. Short-term things like irritation of your eyes, nose, throat, maybe headaches, dizziness, nausea. Long-term exposure can contribute to respiratory issues, central nervous system effects, and even the development of certain cancers. Now, let me just say, oh my gosh, this is difficult for me because I have health anxiety with a particular worry about cancer. It's a big trigger of my health anxiety. So, this episode is challenging me nicely. But VOCs, they're just so bad. Now, some VOCs are already classified as hazardous air pollutants, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they aren't in products that we have, like I already mentioned. Things like benzene and formaldehyde, terrible, absolutely terrible. But even at low concentrations, VOCs can cause discomfort in people, particularly the more vulnerable, such as children and elderly, and maybe individuals that have pre-existing respiratory conditions. It is rough. Like I said, formaldehyde is particularly rough. It's considered very harmful due to its health effects. It is bad for people with asthma or respiratory conditions. It's also known as a human carcinogen by international health organisations, and long-term exposure to formaldehyde has been associated with an increased risk in some cancers, particularly in the respiratory system. Also in animal studies, the exposure has created developmental and reproductive effects. It has the potential for chronic health issues. and it's commonly in things such as adhesives, resins, textiles, but we can be exposed to formaldehyde through everyday items such as furniture, clothing, and household goods. It's terrifying. There is no way of knowing if the things in our house have formaldehyde in them. So how can you minimize exposure to something like formaldehyde? Well, you can actually look into the ingredients and in what something is made of. Choose things that have low formaldehyde or formaldehyde free. Make sure you properly ventilate in indoor spaces. Be very cautious when you're using products that release formaldehyde, especially in indoor spaces and confined spaces. Follow safety guidelines, of course, as well. There are so many things. I could sit all day telling you about things that are bad. Another one is BPA. Now, you'll probably, when you buy plastic products, you'll see it's BPA free. BPA is harmful because it's endocrine disrupting. So, it's affecting the normal hormonal balance in our system. So, obviously, avoid things that are made of anything with BPA. If it doesn't say BPA free, then I'm going to hazard a guess that it's probably not BPA free. What else is there? You might come across things like phthalates. There's some hard words in this episode. That's also endocrine disrupting, which interferes with the hormones in the body. It can also cause reproductive and developmental effects. It's linked to birth effects. It's linked to asthma and allergies. It has impact on the liver and kidneys. Some studies have explored that there are endocrine related cancers. There are health concerns in children, and you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, where are they? What are they in? How am I going to avoid it? Yeah, I know it's terrifying. But you'll probably find phthalates, probably not saying that right, in plastics, in personal care products such as fragrances, lotions and cosmetics, in vinyl flooring, and get this one, in some children's toys. Come on now. Also, another one to be aware of. There's so many to be aware of. I could talk all day. Another one is PFCs, which are perfluorinated compounds. You'll find that in things like non-stick cookware, water-resistant fabrics, and food packagings. Like, even reading that, I'm like, oh gosh, there's definitely got to be some of that in my house, because, we do have water resistant fabric because we spend a lot of time outside. So it has some health concerns affected to it, including developmental issues, impacts on the immune system, liver damage, thyroid disruption, and an increased risk of certain cancers. It can interfere with the endocrine system. Things like reduced fertility, thyroid disruption. Like, come on now. This is in things like non-stick cookware. Non-stick cookware, something probably everybody owns. Everybody. Myself included. Oh, I am slowly moving away from non-stick cookware, but we're talking about, discovering how bad these things are for us, and then moving on to purchasing other better, healthier options. It comes at a cost. All of this comes at a cost. All of it. And that's why you have to take these small and baby steps. And the last thing the last chemical, I guess, is pesticides. You're probably more familiar with pesticides, that they're used to control or eliminate pests in our produce. They're not great. If you can buy organic, it is better, because there are rules, regulations and laws around organic. But pesticides can cause both acute and chronic health effects, respiratory issues, skin conditions, neurological problems, and an increased risk of certain cancers. So you'll find pesticide residues on fruits, vegetables, and even other food products, even after washing them. And this chronic exposure to low-level pesticide residues in our diet is concerning about any potential long-term health effects that might cause. I don't know. I think the food system worries me the most, but also there is a harm to pollinators, especially things like animals like bees, and yeah, I just don't know. So, for us, we do purchase organic where we can, especially with our produce, because it's a non-negotiable for us now. We just had to figure out how to make that work, because like I say, it does come with these additional costs, and it's not easy. I think myself and our family privileged in terms of the income we bring in, and we find it a challenge to do all of this stuff, and like I said, it has been a long time coming, years and years in the making, and we're still not there. Actually replacing our cookware and things is what we're currently working through, and I would love to say that by the end of this year we'll have done that, and maybe we will. I have to sometimes resist the urge to just chuck everything out because I don't want it anywhere near me. But we're getting there. Slowly but surely we are getting there, and it just takes time. But for us, organic fruit and veg is completely a non-negotiable, and we have just... This is going to sound so blasé, because I know it's not the same for everybody, and it's just not possible. For us, we have just had to figure out how to make it work within our budget, and I know that's not everyone's story. Not everybody can just make it work within their budget, but that's just from us and what we do in terms of the budget we have and the things we have available to us, I guess. So yeah, that is a little bit about why we sort of have looked more into toxicity around us. I mean, I read through all of these things and I think, oh my gosh, it is just terrifying. And I'm sorry this has been such a heavy episode so far, but now I want to transition into how we start living that more low toxic lifestyle, because I'm hazarding a guess at this point you're thinking like, my whole home is trying to kill me, what do I do about it? And so there are some really practical steps for transitioning to more low toxic alternatives in your home, in your cleaning, in your personal care, even in the maintenance of your home. There are lots of things that we have done, things that we create, and things that I make my own cleaning products, and I've said this before in an episode. So many times when I've shared about cleaning products and making my own cleaning products, people are like, "Oh, I haven't got time for that. Like, it's not something I can fit into my life." And I appreciate it can feel really overwhelming when you don't know what you're doing. But it's so simple in that it takes me minutes. I don't even know that it's multiple minutes to make a cleaning spray once I know what I'm doing. So for example, when I create a cleaning product, I use a very, very simple recipe. I use 1 part water to 1 part vinegar and an essential oil to fragrance, and that is it. So I might use 1 cup of water, 1 cup of vinegar, and then 20 drops of an essential oil, depending on how strong the essential oil is. And you will find your flow with that. But yeah, just 1 to 1, and then whatever fragrance you want. You don't even have to have a fragrance. I just like to sort of cover up that little vinegary smell. I often use sweet orange, and that goes down quite nicely. I like that in my kitchen, in my bathroom. Cleans fantastic. I think there's this really common misconception that you are, when you make your own products, they're not going to clean as good. And I think once you start, you realise like, oh, this is just as good as like Flash with bleach or other products are available, right? But you find out that actually natural cleaning products are actually just as good, if not better, than some of their chemically made counterparts. And we have changed things all over our house now. So we have never really been big on air fresheners, because this is a funny story. And I was talking to a friend of mine who, she very much lives a low toxic life as well. We're having a conversation about the fact that I have had for most of my adult life a dodgy ear, right? I call it a dodgy ear because there is no medical answer to it. Believe me, I have tried. I have been back and forth to doctors in sort of my late teens, like 18, 19, through my 20s, with this ear problem, and nobody could ever figure out what the problem was. I would sometimes wake up in the morning with an earache. I would develop an earache during the day. There was no rhyme or reason to it. They checked inside my ears. Nothing was wrong with them. They they sent me to an ear, nose and throat specialist. Couldn't find anything wrong. Actually paid privately to see an ear, nose and throat consultant another time. Said it could be that you hold a lot of tension in your jaw, which that wouldn't surprise me at all. But over the years, I gave up, to be honest, and found my own ways of dealing with it. And what I have noticed over a prolonged period of time now is that I don't really suffer very often. I do think some of it is connected to the weather. I'm more susceptible in some seasons than others. But that's always been my sort of go-to answer, is like, oh, it must be something seasonal, maybe an irritant in the air or something. And it may very well be that as well. But fragrance bothers it. It bothers it a lot. And the symptoms I get is I will get like just an earache. And I'm never somebody that's really suffered with ear problems. Like, I never had earaches as a kid. Very rare have I had an ear infection. And so on a couple of occasions, so what used to happen to me is that when I would see like a specialist, or the GP, I probably didn't have it as an issue at that very moment. So they would look in my ear and be like, no, everything's fine. And one day, just by pure luck, I had the problem at the time I was seeing the nurse, and she took a look inside my ear and she said, yeah, it's looking a little red. But any other time when I wasn't suffering with a problem, it looked normal. So there was something happening in that moment. Since I have ditched anything with any scent whatsoever, don't use perfumes. Perfumes irritate my ear. Don't use air fresheners. Air fresheners irritate my ear. Whether it's sprayed into the air or whether it's one of those god-awful plug-ins or one of those nasty reed diffusers, all of them are highly toxic and always bothered my ear. So in some way, I'm very grateful that I've not lived that kind of existence, because I just couldn't. I couldn't even use like a polish on my furniture. Never been able to use a polish. Polish really aggravates it. And I had a candle. Like, I don't use candles because, again, full of toxic ingredients. But I made a candle at an event I went to, and this was last year, and this really opened my eyes to what I had suspected for a while. As I was driving home with my candle on the front seat of my car, I could smell the scent that was put into it, and it was so strong. And in the, I would say, 20-minute drive that it took me from leaving there and putting the candle in the car with me to getting back home, my ear was so painful. I had sort of like this very groggy feeling in my head. My eyes felt heavy. Just, that's all the symptoms I get from this ear problem. And it made me realise and reflect that since we cut out any household chemicals, and since, you know, we don't have these things around us, I don't really have the problem. It's very, very, very rare. And if I do have it, it is generally instigated by something like that. And so, you know, it's very, like, common, isn't it, for people to have homes that have reed diffusers or have those plug-ins, and they're just so horrendous. Like, I know if I go to somebody's house and it's got a reed diffuser or a plug-in, like, I'm in for it. My ear will start to hurt. And it's almost like I have to, like, block my ear. Like, if I put my thumb in my ear, for example, and stop whatever it is getting in, it will make it feel better. So it's just fascinating to me that, you know, that's my body's way of saying, like, this stuff is grim. But yeah, it's really interesting because, you know, I've had to figure that out myself. So how can you start identifying these toxins and start figuring out how to take those initial first steps to a low toxic lifestyle? And now I think the best place to start is exploring what toxins you might have in your home. And I think the best thing to do, or where I started at least, was cleaning products. Cleaning products are very easy to replicate for yourself, like I said, and if you can ditch them, you have made a massive indent into, you know, into low toxic living. And another thing is most cleaning products, I would say, now I've not bought cleaning products for a while, but the last time I bought cleaning products, they are on the more affordable end of the scale, largely. Now I know there are some more expensive ones, and they're not necessarily any better when you look into the ingredients. So it is worth downloading the app. It's not sponsored, but it is worth downloading the app and checking you know, what you have in your home and seeing where you can make cuts and make changes. Yeah, so that is a good start. Cleaning products. Identify what harmful ingredients are in what products. Figure out what you're going to do. Are you going to be like me and be like, this stuff needs to leave immediately? I don't want to coexist with it for even 1 second longer. Or are you just going to use it up and then make a change from there? So figure out what works for you, and then go from there. Like I said, cleaning products, I think, are the best place to start, because after cleaning products, you get into things that can also be replicated, but might need a little more doing on your part. Like I said, cleaning products are very, very easy to make. I have made things like, I have like a general cleaning spray. I've made a mould spray, which is great on my lovely mouldy walls, but also great for places like the bathroom, like around the bath, you know, where you can get like a build up of stuff there. That's really good. I created this spray by absolute pure coincidence. I was making a hand soap and a washing up liquid, and I did the wrong measurements. So I make a hand soap, and it is predominantly Castile soap with a little bit of water, something really small, like 1 tablespoon of water or something, and I basically did like a 1-to-1 ratio, and I was like, oh, this seems really sloppy compared to what I usually make. And it's just because I'm so used to that 1-to-1 ratio on my cleaning products that, yeah, I just wasn't thinking. And so I was like, well, I'm not going to waste it. I'll just pop it in a spray bottle. And so I did, and accidentally found that it is the most incredible cleaner for any sort of stuff, I don't know, that's like a difficult or tough stain. I find it brilliant on my sink. I have a beautiful sink that when we replaced our kitchen, it is I can't remember what it's called. It's a stainless steel, but it's like a woven kind of thing. I can't think what it was called. Hold on, I'm going to Google it. Okay, it was a linen stainless steel. And I love it. I actually saw a sink like it when we went on holiday to a lodge. And I was like, oh, I love a sink like this, because we used to have a stainless steel sink that would really stain really easily, and we drink a lot of coffee in my house, so more likely. But yeah, we ordered this, and it still does have the tendency actually to stain a bit with the coffee. But this spray, you spray it on, and I give it a good scrub with a brush, leave it for a couple of minutes, give it another good scrub, and it comes up so beautifully. And that is just water and soap. Yeah, it's incredible, because when we first had it done, I couldn't find anything that would work on it, and so I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll have to use chemicals because I don't want to ruin the sink. And yeah, so it actually comes up better with this cleaning product, the homemade one, than it ever did with anything chemically based. So yeah, I just think that I think you'll be surprised. And I think once you've done the home stuff, it will then spur you on to start looking at other things, like maybe looking at a natural deodorant. I think more people are more aware than ever about the fact that in sort of antiperspirant deodorants, it's full of like heavy metals, like aluminium, and it's no good for any of us. But you know, if you have breasts, especially, not putting anything like that near those. And yeah, so I changed my deodorant. Oh, goodness me, long time ago. I think I still lived at home with my mum. I would say we're talking possibly a decade ago. And I just sort of have it's got better and better all the time. I don't know if they still do it, but a good deodorant, if you aren't able to make one, or aren't able to get one from anywhere in particular, I don't know. My friend Kaylee, who is coming up on the podcast, her business actually makes deodorant, so I will link that in the notes below. I'll provide a link for that. But also there's a Body Shop deodorant. It's actually in the men's section. We've used that for many years, and I've put it through the Yucca app, and it comes up as excellent, so that's a good choice as well. Yeah, I found them all very good, and do the job they are supposed to do. So I know that's a worry to some people, like we don't want to be stinking and stuff. But yeah, then you can move on to things like your body care products, sanitary care products. There's a lot of nasties in sort of plastic sanitary protection. I transitioned away from like standard sanitary protection to cloth sanitary protection about 7 or 8 years ago. I've also had the benefit of having 2 children and breastfeeding one of them for 2.5 years so far. So I have had some delayed cycles along the way. But yeah, so I use some Modi Body period pants. I use the Wooka, is it Wooka? Period pants as well. I also have some cloth pads. They're great. They really are. I know some people are a bit icked by it, but actually it's a really great way of firstly not creating excess rubbish, but also not having nasties close to what is an open area that leads straight into our bodies. And then there's also things like makeup and nail varnish, and you've got cookware, and it's it's a work in progress. So I definitely recommend starting with cleaning products, then maybe moving on to like personal care items, and then maybe moving on to cookware. I guess that's the route I've taken, really. I started with cleaning products. I've moved on to like replacing like sanitary protection and stuff, and deodorants have been changed for a while, but like personal care products, body washes, shampoos, things like that. And then we're at the cookware stage at the moment. In terms of furniture, that is literally going to have to be like when something needs replacing, then we will look at it on an individual basis. I don't mind so much chucking out shower gels and toothpastes and things, but beds and sofas, I think not. So yeah, that will just be on a sort of case by case basis, I guess, is the best way to explain that. And so another thing you can do, like stepping away from like the fear of everything that's trying to kill you, is that you really do need to have a gradual and sustainable transition. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. Even changing one thing makes a difference to you, to your environment, to your health. And that's why I know it's been like quite heavy, and I hope that it hasn't terrified you. But it's just about making those really small, gradual changes, and that will just happen slowly but surely. Next time you run out of shampoo, check your shampoo, and if you don't like what's in it and you're not happy, find something else. And you can just do it as simply as that, and just step by step, one step at a time. It could be something that's really overwhelming, and I don't want it to be something that you feel is overwhelming, because once you get started, you actually find like you're on this bit of a mission, I guess, to improve the things around you. Haven't even touched on food, and other than we try and purchase organic where we can. There are so many different things in food that I'm not that comfortable with. Particularly for us, we avoid industrial seed oils, things like sunflower oil. Rapeseed oil is the absolute worst. We try and cook in some of the more natural things like butter. You can use beef tallow if you're not vegetarian as well. Obviously, butter is only suitable if you do consume animal product, but coconut oil is also a good one. So yeah, basically just figuring out what works for you, and use it as a jumping off point, and just go and explore and do your own research and work out what works best for you, for your family, and what is going to work in your home. Now, there are some good ways of improving indoor air quality as well. So we mentioned how a lot of these things can actually make the indoor air quality and just naff, but also as a byproduct, you've got a lot of environmental pollutants in the air as well. So something I do in our house is have indoor plants. Now, I'm not the best indoor plant mother, but I do try my best. You can grab indoor plants from supermarkets, from garden centres. Something that I have in our home is ivy. I have that in our bedroom because it is known to help improve the air quality when there is maybe damp and mould present. We also have a air purifier with a HEPA filter in our bedroom to help the air quality. My husband does actually suffer with allergies, so I'm a little bit more switched on in that area. I also have a spider plant in our bedroom. I have a couple of snake plants around the house, one in the other bedroom and one down in the living room. I have a spider plant down in the living room as well. I have an aloe vera plant in the kitchen, and it's just there are so many benefits in terms of helping the air quality in the room. You can just have a quick look online. There's lots of information about the best plants for whatever you're looking for. And so what I'm trying to do in our home is create an environment that doesn't cause my husband to sneeze, and just improve our air quality overall. And I think I do notice a difference when we've done that. I certainly notice a difference because we've been so switched on about the damp and the condensation in our room. We have little, I think they're called hygrometers or hygrometers. I don't know how you say it. But basically they measure the percentage of humidity in the air. And so I know, because I'm a damp and mold expert at this point, that damp and mold begins to form at 73% humidity. And because of the lack of wall, I generally have had quite high humidity in our bedroom. So I'm sitting here now, obviously I've got the door shut, I'm breathing in breathing in and out all the time. I am producing moisture all the time. This is obviously a bedroom as well. There's a lot of moisture is produced in a bedroom. And normally the percentage in here would be around 68%. Since I have put indoor plants in here, it's dropped down to 58%. And the same thing happened last year when I had ivy in here, which I unfortunately killed because that's just me. As soon as I put an indoor plant in the room, like within a couple of hours, I noticed a drop in the humidity. So it definitely does work. I have definitely noticed the difference in our home. And yeah, so there are also other things that you can think about as well. If you're painting, you can pick a lower toxic paint. You can look at low toxic flooring and furniture. It's not something that I have done any sort of research on yet, but I do want to paint this year. So paint might be the next thing for me to think about at least. So I do have some other episodes on low toxic living. I did a great episode with Kay about getting started with low toxic living. I also did another episode on low toxic living, a solo episode. So I'll link those below as well. I would love to see or hear your thoughts on how you would like to start creating a more low toxic environment within your home. So be sure to follow me over on Instagram, so you can follow me personally at The Slow Living Collective. You can follow the podcast at The Slow Living Collective Pod. I would love to talk to you, chat with you, see how you're getting on. I am no expert, but I am certainly happy to give you advice from my perspective. If you have any questions, please head over and find them there. And yeah, I just hope this episode wasn't too terrifying for you. And I hope it just showed you that there is so much that you can start with. And I think the most important thing is just to start. Just to start, slow, steady, gradual, sustainable, and just one foot in front of the other. And soon you will be in a position that I am, where you look back and you realise that there is this whole massive part of your life that you have actually changed. And you might not be at the end of your low toxic journey, but I don't know that we ever get to the end of our low toxic journey. It's just about being more aware and figuring out what works for us. So those small intentional changes can really lead to a healthier, more low toxic lifestyle. So thank you for listening. I will pop all of the links below. I know I said loads, now it's just on me to try and remember them. But I hope it was really helpful to you, and I will catch you in the next episode. Don't forget to come and follow me on Instagram at The Slow Living Collective or at The Slow Living Collective Pod. You can also check out the website, which is theslowlivingcollective.com. You can check out my brand new membership, where I am also diving into low toxic living as part of that. That is over on Substack, and you can find that at theslowlivingcollective.substack.com, and you can join either as a free or paid subscriber. So thanks again for listening, and I will see you in the next episode.